Yeah, so no questions right now. I'm just going to be working on the Surfshop application, and I'll try to remember to think out loud while I'm working so you can kind of understand what's going on. And then I'll check back and forth. I don't know. Well, here, how about this? We'll do a question and answer session in 10 minutes. So we'll code for 10 minutes and then we'll do some Q&A. So I'm not going to be looking at the live stream while I'm coding, but I'll check back in a minute. And what's up to everybody that's here? Xfresh, Sluplexity, Coding Falcon, etc. Alright, so what I was thinking about working on is I'm just looking at the Surfshop application. If you're not familiar with it, this is the project that we're working on in my Code with Node course. And right now we're in the theming stage where we're adding a pre-made theme. And I noticed that when you go to the posts, so this is right here is the landing page, and it's got this nice big banner, and you can click these links, and they'll take you different places. And then here's this map that has all the posts that are listed, and then here's some recent posts. And so when you go to the post index to see all the posts that are listed, we don't really want this big banner up top. So I think the next order of business is going to be to get rid of that. So if we look at our views, and I don't even remember what theme I used anymore, so I have to figure that out so I can borrow code from it. But if we go to posts, index, we're using the boilerplate layout, and we're not going to want to use that anymore. We're going to want to change it. So we're going to copy this and create a new one. We'll call it post index .ejs is fine, or we'll follow the same format that we're using down here. I don't know why I'm using hyphens there. I'm going to use, I like to use camel case. So we're going to say post index and save it. And that really just makes me want to update this one here, so I'm going to rename it to post show.ejs, and it's inside layouts, which means down here in post show, this is using it right here. So that would need to be changed. Alright, so then we're just going to copy everything from boilerplate and use that as a basis. And let's see here. What am I looking at? Alright, so the nav bar is probably actually, let's see here. Let's just jump over and look at it. Buy and sell surfboards. So this section right here, static slider, is what we want to get rid of. So if we drop down to here and we just pull this out for a second, let's see what happens. Make sure that our view over in post index, of course, is using this new layout. Alright, cool. Okay, so it got rid of the nav bar, even though it should still be there. Or what's probably happening, you can see when I select, it's all white text. So it's there, it's just overlaying it. So we're going to have to work on that. And let's go back over to post index. I think the issue here is this class right here is making this area too large. So let's see if we can find that class, find out which file it's in. And it looks like it's over in landing page CSS right here. So basically we should be able to just borrow this little section right here, and this isn't the landing page, so we can go put it over in style sheets style.css. And I mean, if we wanted, we could just create a new file here and call it post index .css, and I'm going to call it post plural. Save that there. I'm going to have to rename this one just because I want them to be uniform, which means I'm going to have to go find where post show.css is located, and naturally it's in the post show layout. So we're going to go over to post show layout, look for post show, and just make sure that that's posts plural show so that that doesn't break, and then we'll back out of there. Alright, I'm going to jump back over into the live chat real quick. I just want to check with everyone. Are y'all able to hear me okay? Check my audio levels. Seems like I'm talking a little bit too loud for this microphone, so I'm going to turn it down just a little bit, and that should help. Right about there should be maybe a little bit lower. Okay, thanks Matthew, appreciate that. Alright, so I think we're good. Audio is fine, great. Alright, let's get back to it. Alright, so at this point we're in the post index layout, and we have this static slider head, and it's pulling from this CSS file, postindex.css. So we'll go ahead and get rid of this. We can close this right here, just getting rid of stuff that's distracting. And now we're looking for, we have style.css and we have landing page.css. I think we're going to need to keep the landing page CSS for now, but what we can do is bring in style sheets posts index.css, and then just to make sure that it's working, we'll go ahead and write a little random thing here that should show up if it's connected properly. Post index. There's that purple background that tells us that the CSS file is connected properly, and now we've got this stuff back in here, which is good. We're going to start getting rid of, we're going to start customizing it, but so we can get rid of that little test line that we had in there. Alright, so right now the min height is 600 pixels, and so you can confirm that with your dev tools by looking at this static slider head, and actually when you mouse over it you can see, I can't, right beneath where it says div static dash slider dash head, and then it says 1265 by 600. So that's how you know it's 600 pixels. So we don't want it to take up that much space. So let's try something more like 200 pixels and just see what that looks like. Alright, so it's already bringing it up, which is good because I don't want that like big landing page look. So let's bring it up further. Just try 100 pixels. really ultimately what I just want is space for the nav to be there. So we can get rid of this content right here, because right now that's blocking us from making it any smaller. So let's head over here back to postindex.ejs. This is our layout, and the stuff that's giving us trouble is this column right here, and it's got some text inside of it. So we don't need the row and we don't need the column. All we're really interested in is the background. However, if we get rid of the row and the column, I think it might give us trouble, so let's just get rid of it and see what happens. So we still have the container in there. Okay, this is looking almost exactly how I want it to. We can tweak it just a little bit. Let's say we bring it down to like 80 pixels and then bring it back up to like maybe 90. Alright, so that looks fairly uniform top and bottom. I'm not going to tweak over it too much. But now I have my navigation up top, and then I have my content right here, and that's really what I was interested in having. And so let's see what happens when we go to the post index and we get rid of that style sheet for the landing page. Let's see how much of the stuff on this page relies on that. Okay, I think that we're good without it. So we're going to go ahead and ditch it because it's got stuff in there that, you know, it's just taking up space and it's extra load time, so we don't want that. Alright, so next order of business is this content down here. It's all butted up against things, and we want to have some margins here to make it look a little bit nicer. So let's start working on that. And before we do that, let's just test these links. So this takes us back here, then we go to posts, and then we go to register, and back to posts, login, back to posts. Alright, this is working out pretty nicely. So that's my alarm. I'm going to hop on over to live stream, take a little break. And first question I'm seeing at the bottom is, will this be uploaded after? And yeah, all the live stuff gets uploaded. Alright, so we're going to do a quick little question and answer session for the next 10 minutes, and then I'm going to get back to coding. So if you have some questions, have at it. Say Pedro Resende has a question about Colts React course. Probably don't have a good answer for you because I haven't taken it, but go ahead and ask and I may be able to help you out. Let's see here. You have to show pet project for interview, junior JavaScript. I would show this surf project, did some stuff different, and would show the same but React, not finished but CRUD function. Yes, what do you think? Yeah, go ahead. I mean, you're more than welcome to use it. Hopefully, that'd be awesome if you could use that project to get a job. I would be interested to see what you come up with. And just make sure that whatever you show them is as finished as possible. So you definitely don't want to show them. I mean, unless their understanding of like this is an ongoing project, that's fine too. But you don't want to be like, this is something I did last year and then it's not done or whatever. Michael, yes, this is the first live surf shop tutorial. Where did I learn to code? At a boot camp called General Assembly, and then online I taught myself a lot of stuff. And then also teaching. I learned most everything from teaching other people because it really forces you to research and learn stuff. I do not teach machine learning, no. So Colt has some great projects, but he does them without hooks. Yeah, that's unfortunate because from what I hear, hooks are really nice to have. But what you might do is build the projects from his course and then learn hooks from another course or another resource, or I always push people to learn from the documentation and then come back and refactor the projects that you did in his other course using hooks. What do I think about web design tools like Bootstrap Studio? I've never heard of it. And I don't do a lot of web design, not really any. I mean, you can see in this project that we're working on right now, I'm using a pre-made theme. So I'm more of like a let people who are really good at the design side of things do the heavy lifting in that regard, and then I'll just take what they've done and, you know, use that in my project. I won't be making any MERN stack videos. Not right now, anyway. No problem, say Pedro. It's like a drag and drop software for creating websites. So drag and drop is good if you don't know anything about coding, but those drag and drop softwares they come with a lot of, let's call it fluff. So there's a lot of code that happens that is unnecessary, and it takes extra time to load. So when you're in control, like you're the programmer, you're in control of the all the code that goes into the project, then you can control, you have the ability to make it load quicker, have less junk in there. But if you're using somebody else's drag and drop software, they have all this other stuff they're pumping in there that you have no control over, and it can make your website load slower, is basically the long and short of it. So it's useful for people that don't know how to code, but it can also be a headache. What do we can see under stream health? I'm not sure what you're referring to. This is like my dashboard for streaming. Technically I could hide this stuff, but I'm not going to do that. Am I referring to the Bootstrap Expo site? I don't know. I just was talking about whatever somebody brought up, Bootstrap something studio. I'm not sure what Bootstrap Expo is either. Is it really important to know something about design like UX and UI? So user experience and user interface or user interaction is important to know, especially if you're going to be a front-end developer. It just depends on what kind of job you're going for. But websites are supposed to make people's lives easier. So if you're building a website that is confusing and doesn't make someone's life easier because you didn't take a little bit extra time to understand, at least the basics of UX UI, then you might want to take some time to invest in learning that stuff. So Elton Joshua, will a React section and an ES6 section be added to the original Web Dev Bootcamp? No, probably not. I've considered doing a refactor of Yelp Camp. See if I can bring that up real quick. Oh my God, how many tabs do I have open? So right here, this is an ES6 vector. I don't know how much of it I actually did. So I started using const, which is good. And technically all these should be const. You don't generally want to use this pattern anymore, even though it looks nice. I read somewhere that it's not good to follow. And then I stopped using semicolons. Actually, I'm still using it in some places, so I just stopped using it here. So you can go with or without semicolons. Fun Function has a really good video on when to use them, why to use them, if you should or shouldn't. It just comes down to a couple like gotcha cases, a little edge cases, and then personal preference really. So alright, so I'm using const, that's good I guess. And then here I'm using an arrow function, so that's nice. Let's check out the routes. More const, async await. Oh yeah, so I hadn't looked at this project in a while. I guess I could push this to GitHub for you guys and then link to it. So I'll do that later. But here I have some destructuring. So yeah, we could do that in a live stream where I like go through and just do what I did here. It's a lot of busy work, and I would need to explain the different concepts. But yeah, not a bunch of crazy changes. It's just like up to date with some of the newer stuff. And I don't use everything. I don't have any spread syntax in here. But I don't know that there's too many places, or if any, that could be used. So anyway, will Colt be adding that stuff? I don't think so. I don't know. That course has been around forever, and in terms of updates, it hasn't had too many, other than like the stuff that I add to it in terms of notes. So in terms of like actual project content, I don't know. I've added a lot of additional stuff on my YouTube. But that's just me kind of messing around, adding stuff that I think students would benefit from. So long story short, ES6 content, yeah, I might do a live coding session, but probably not going to be something that actually gets added directly to the curriculum, because that's like Colt's course, so I don't typically like put my own content into his course. All right, we got 2 minutes left for the Q&A, so let's look up here and see. Can web development be done on cloud, like Cloud9 IDE? Yes. Cloud9 is now part of AWS, and I am not a huge fan of it, so that's why, among other reasons, why we use Gorm IDE. But yeah, so the IDEs that are cloud-based, you can code in them, you can collaborate with other people, and they're nice for beginners because you don't have to set up a local environment, which is like one of the most difficult things when you first get into web development or programming in general. But yeah, you can code on things like Cloud9 and Gorm and code anywhere. Nick Asher, yep, thanks for showing up. What's the difference of import and const something is equal to require? You're going to want to Google that one. The import has some more benefits in terms of the syntax, some little special things that you can do, but it's one of the most recent ES syntaxes that is being used. I don't know if it's if you still have to use a special package to be able to use import or not, because I haven't looked into it recently. But for a while there, that was one of the syntaxes that was so new that you had to have an extra special package to make it work with Node. Whereas like in newer versions of Node, you can use stuff like const and let and arrow functions, destructuring, etc., without adding anything extra. And as many of you know, Chrome uses the Node engine for JavaScript or whatever, so they have all that stuff inside of the front end JavaScript as well. So like if you open up your console, you can use const and let and arrow functions. But as far as import goes, you'd have to do a little bit of research on that. The best place to look is probably just the documentation. Where can you find my courses? They're all on Udemy, and then also devsprout.io. Yep, thank you, Ricky, for plugging those. Finding ideas for projects to build is sometimes difficult. How would you recommend going about developing ideas? And suggest me a cloud IDE, please. So I would suggest Gorm IDE. And if you're taking any of our courses, Colt's course, MySQL, then or his web developer bootcamp, then you'll have access to Gorm with instructions and everything. So it depends on M Junior. Depends on what you're trying to build. Stuff for your portfolio, I would just mimic what's already out there. So like Colt does Yelp Camp for Yelp. You could do, something that mimics Twitter or Instagram or even a really simple version of Facebook, or just anything out there. Airbnb, Expedia, stuff like that. I'm not sure what the acronym CMIIW stands for. And then can you use Google Drive for multi-storage? I've not used it, but you may be able to. I don't think Google Drive is necessarily, you might be able to. You just have to look up their API, but I don't know that people are using it that way. Anyway, we're going to cut off on questions and get back into the coding. And then, yeah, the IDE is called Gorm. Or it's pronounced differently. It's a Korean word. It's like Gurum. I'm still not pronouncing it right, but okay. So jumping back into the coding. So I'm not going to see y'all's comments if you keep asking questions. Sorry. Post index. All right. So we just got this banner up here, and now we want to get some more space down here. So let's jump back over to our code, and in post index we have our main wrapper, which we have our nav bar and our flash messages, which flash messages are going to need some work here in a bit, but probably won't get to it today. And then the body and then the footer. And so container fluid wraps that Interesting. So the body is not inside of any type of container, as far as I can tell. Does not look like it. So let's take care of that. Let's say like container fluid. Actually, if that's the body and this is post index and we go over to index here, yeah, it's using the container fluid here. So we want to get rid of that. So now let's jump over into post index.ejs. So if we're looking at this, there's post index. The container fluid has the search filter and the map, and then it cuts off there, and then paginate posts. So it doesn't seem like container fluid has margins, and so if we wanted margins, we'd have to add them, which is fine, we can. First of all, post index, let's see what happens when we just put it like right here. And if we want, we can just do column medium 12. See what that looks like. It should look exactly the same, and it does. And then now we can say like container fluid, padding 4 or something like that. All right, so that adds some padding all around the sides. I think it's 40 pixels is what it equates to. And then the container fluid only goes around these two, and then we end up with this stuff down here, which is not inside of there. So that kind of makes me think that maybe it should be. So we would want to take these, move them over, and put that closing div there, and then just say that this is container fluid. This comment just lets us know what this closing div is going to, and let's cross our fingers and see if that messes anything up. Alright, so ultimately it kind of gave us some padding around the sides, not a ton, but and in fact if we wanted to we could max it out with P5, so that gives us an extra like 10 pixels I think. Alright, cool. So now we got some padding up top and on the sides, and it makes it a little easier to see this stuff. So we got our search form, and this right here, there's not enough space for use my location, so I would think it might be better to drop it below, and I need to figure out where that is. It's probably in a partial, and that partial is called search filter. So we got to find it. It's right here. And then we're looking for the text, use my location, which is small. We could use line breaks if we wanted to, just to drop it to the next line, or we can plug it into a paragraph. I think I'm just going to go ahead and go with the line break for now. So that drops it down to the next line. And if you want to use your location, you click on that, tells you that it's locating, and now here's the longitude and latitude for your location. And that's not really nice looking because most people don't understand this syntax. They're probably looking at this like, you know, maybe if you're kind of observant, you're like, oh, I think those are longitude and latitude values, but the brackets might throw you off. So in a refactor later, I'll probably come back and make this use the name of the location. I don't want to get too distracted from what we were doing, but I think what I can do is just go check that out real quick and see what our options are. And so let's go to, well, let's see here. Use my location is inside of JavaScripts, use my location. And so there's a function called geofindme, and there's a little status, success, location input, value becomes this right here. And so this right here, add event, when you click, it runs geofindme, which is this. And then this right here, navigator is .geolocation.get current position, is a function that's run from this navigator API, and this success function gets invoked if it's successful, and then the error function gets invoked if it has an error. And so we have access to the position. And so at this point, we just want to throw a debugger in there and hard refresh on this page, let it load. Go ahead and open up the Chrome tab, Developer Tools. Click on Use My Location. It pauses in the debugger. Go to console and take a look at position and see what's available to us. And so we get this object here that has chords for coordinates, longitude and latitude, and altitude and timestamp. So I was wondering if it would give you, like, if it could get the town that you're inside of or what have you, and like give you the name of it. But I'm not seeing that. So let's see, geolocation API, browser API, MDN. Let's see if we can find some information about that. So what do you know? This looks just like the code I was using because I borrowed it from here. But I'm interested. So you can see here where they actually tell the user, like, hey, this is your longitude, this is your latitude, which is probably a little more helpful. But it does not look like it gets you like a name of the closest town, which is fine. So what might be worthwhile, just doing something like this, and looking at what code we have. This right here empties out the status, and maybe we could just use the status. We'll see. So let's see what that does. Yeah, so this tells you latitude and then longitude, and so then this up here becomes a little less mysterious to the user. But this has to be this way so that whenever it gets submitted to the back end, we have that data. Now, the other thing you could do is hide this information in a second input. It would take a little bit of doing, but just have a hidden input, add that to the hidden input, check and see if that hidden input is available on the back end, use that data instead of whatever's inside here, especially if there is nothing inside of here. And then, of course, you could continue to show the user that their location is this. So I'm going to leave it like this for now and continue on. So one thing that is interesting is I've got the pagination, just it could go forever. Like right now, I think I have 10 per page, and then I have 60 pages, and so that's like 600 posts. And if we had, another 100, then it would go to 70 pages. And then if you go to like Google, Google has like 1, 2, 3, and then ... or like 1 through 11 or something. So it'd be interesting if we could replicate something like that instead of having these numbers just going on forever. So like you would go to the next set of 10 as opposed to just showing all these, because that's going to it's not going to scale well. When you have a million posts, then that type of pagination is not going to look good. So that's 10 minutes. Let's take a little break from that. And of course, we want to check in with Git. Check our Git status. Just look at everything that we've done here. And so we did a couple things. We can say Git add everything, basically everything except for this file right here. is the stuff that we changed for the whatchamacallit. I'm just gonna do it all in one commit. This isn't like the best practice, but it's my project, so I can do it however I want. So we're gonna do a commit message and just say something like update theming for post index. That's a really simplified description of what's happening here because we obviously did several things. We added a new layout specifically for that one. We made changes to the post show naming convention. We updated the search filter partial. We updated use my location script. So this isn't describing everything that's happening there. So if you're working on a team, you'd want to be more descriptive. You'd also want to make these changes incrementally. So like change one thing, do a commit message describing what you did, change the next thing that's unrelated to the first thing that you did. And even though all these things are happening in the same page, you'd want to, make the distinction between the theming stuff and the use my location stuff and so on. So don't do as I say, not as I do. Okay. All right, so let's do another 10 minutes of Q&A, and then I think until later today or tomorrow, whenever I do my next session, we're going to call it quits. So Ian Injatama, which sort algorithm do you think is the best? Bubble sort, insertion sort, selection sort, or counting sort? So just look them up to see which ones work, like how each one works in terms of the speed of each one. Bubble sort is going to be the slowest, but they have animations and they have tons of websites that compare the speed and efficiency of each one of those sorting algorithms. And so here's Akshay saying that counting sort is of linear time complexity and hence fastest, takes more space. Yeah, so you're going to want to look that stuff up. Between lines, almost certainly not bubble sort. Yep. Insertion sort is pretty bad too. Yep. And basically just more conversation about which ones are better. Yep. All those things. All right, so for those of you that stuck around, about 9 minutes left of Q&A, and then we're going to wrap it up for today's session. So just to review what we did, basically, if I go back over here to the previous commit, this is what it looks like now. We have this little nav bar up here. It kind of uses the banner from the splash page, and we have some padding around these elements, and then we added this little latitude thing. We moved use my location to the next line, so it looks a little bit nicer. And that's all we did on this page. If you go back here on the home page, you can see this is the full landing page banner, which right now is 600 pixels. It really depends on your screen size. On a larger desktop screen, this is not going to look like you'll be able to see the map too. And honestly, I was probably making this on my desktop originally, so it probably showed all of this and the map. But now that I'm on my laptop, it's just showing 3/4 or so of the page and then the top of the map. So that's something that you would want to work on with media queries, where you're like, if it's this size page, then make it this many pixels. If it's that size page, and so on. I'm not going to get into that because that stuff can take forever. But now if we go over to post, this is what it used to look like, where we had the landing page stuff up top, and then we had no margins or padding over here. And so then if we go back to where we are now and refresh. There we go. We're back to it looking like this. So that's what we accomplished today. If you're following along from the course, just so you're aware, this is essentially the format that I'll be completing the rest of the course in, because long story short, the course was taking me a really long time to make, and I got super burned out with everything else that I was doing. And so instead of continuing to sell the course, which it was being sold for a really long time, I made it free. And so it's free with the basically the fact that it's only like 80% done. And so now, as a way to try and complete the course while also multitasking and being able to live stream and connect with my audience, I am trying to do it while live streaming. And so it's not going to be edited the same way that the previous part of the course is done, but at least you'll be able to see what I'm doing as I'm coding along and finishing up various features. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Let's see what's going on with the Q&A. Silver Kappa says, why not buy surfboards from Amazon? Yeah, I guess you could. It's not really. Are you saying like why not just do that instead of building an app that sells surfboards for yourself? I can give you a couple good reasons. One, the point of this exercise, of course, is just to build a website so that you can be a developer at Amazon and help them build their website and get paid good money to do so. But the reason, if I truly were making a real website to sell surfboards instead of just selling them on Amazon, I would do so because once you start selling something on Amazon, then your audience, the people that are buying from you, they belong to Amazon, not you. So the moment you stop selling on Amazon, you're back to square one. Whereas if you have your own website, then you're in more control because you're the one that controls your audience. And so you have to work harder to get customers to go to your website. You have to pay for advertising, or you have to have good SEO and marketing strategies, etc. But the same goes for like YouTube and Udemy or any other service that allows you to take advantage of their audience, but they take a cut of the money that you earn. If you want more control, then you would want to make your own platform. We got about 4 or 5 minutes left, so any questions, happy to answer them. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up and get out of here. I guess one thing that we could do if I'm logged into my GitHub account on this computer is we could make a new repository and we'll call it Yelp Camp ES6 make this public, create the repository, and go ahead and jump over to the desktop and go into version 11 deployed, ES6 refactor. Actually, it looks like it's already, apparently it's already on Heroku too. I wonder if that's still a thing. Actually, I'm gonna have to go look at it on my own first. I don't want to pull something up and then have it have been hacked or something, because I've had students that's happened to, and it seems kind of risky in a live stream. So I'll check it out on my own. In the meantime, it's already on GitHub under Yelp Camp-ES6. So I don't know how this one is using the same name. Let's see. Let's see what happens when we push this one. Git push. Well, let's check the status real quick. Git status. A bunch of changes were made apparently. Glow. Reset for video purposes. Okay. We want to echo git ignore to. Sorry. Have that backwards. We want to echo node modules to git ignore, and that looks right. and then username. That's interesting. Password. Oh, because it's using HTTPS. Real quick, I'm going to head over and see if I can find that other one. So there's that one. Alright, alright. Let's use the SSH repository. So get remote, set URL, origin, blah blah, push to origin master. And see what happens. Alright, here it is. So if anybody's interested, just go github.com/nax3t/yelpcampus6, and I'll link this in the description of this video whenever I'm done uploading it. Alright, so jumping back over, that's not what I want. Where am I? There we go. Alright, so there's no new questions, and that's the time. So thanks everyone for hanging out and watching, and if you want to help support Dev Sprouts, I'll be able to continue doing this sort of thing, because if you haven't noticed, all my courses are free, so I don't make any money from that stuff. Feel free to support me, PayPal. Any amount of money is fine, whether it's $1 or $1 million. No obligation, no pressure. Or if you want to support me another way, what you can do is go find some new courses to learn. Don't know if that link's going to work unless it redirects. Yeah, so if you want the HTTPS version, do that. No problem. Thanks for your time. Thanks for hanging out. Aditya, what's your opinion about other languages than Node.js? They're all just tools in a toolbox. So if you've needed to do a certain job that Node can't do efficiently or effectively, then you would want to find the language that does it. So if you're going to do automation, you can do it with Node, but Python's probably the better tool for the job. You can do automation with Ruby, but I think Python kind of takes the cake when it comes to automation. It really just depends. You figure out what the specifications are for your project or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, and then look online and find out which language or stack is going to be effective for that. So that's it. Thanks everybody. Again, I have my PayPal link there if you want to donate, and we'll catch you all on the next one. Later.